I'm excited to be back for week 5, and this week we are actually looking at chapters 10, 11, and 12. So we had a little bit more work for this week, but some really interesting concepts as we look at research and how we would explore different ways to conduct research. So question number 10, as you know, has to do with a new system, it's called WebFocus, and it's going to students. And the question actually is, what should be the research measures to determine the effectiveness of the new online dashboard process for, again, improving the efficiency and the quality of the school's yearbook? So I thought this assignment or this question was really fun because it actually makes me think of 2 platforms that we use in higher education. So with us, we use the Blackboard system quite often, and I'm actually submitting, of course, via Blackboard. But it also reminds me of Canvas, which is the system that I use at Molloy College here in New York City. And what happens, again, it reminds me of the system because you get notifications, you get updates when there are new announcements, when there are new postings, and it's just a myriad of information that you receive. But of course, in this example, we want to create, and we need a new dashboard. So what is that going to look like? So definitely you want to have something that's online, something that's accessible to students, probably in an app form as well. When we specifically look to research methods, we want to look at certain measures such as ordinal, nominal, interval, and ratio, which are discussed extensively in chapter 10. So when we look at ordinal, we want to track the order in which things are done, of course. And then with nominal, we want to track the amount of users accessing the dashboard. So again, in this example, they talk about how over 4,000 schools use this and how it's just a really popular platform. Well, we want to track the numbers to ensure that everything goes smoothly. We then have interval, where we want to track the time between events and different measures. And then we have ratio measures to track the actual amounts of data for this new platform that is coming into fruition for the school's yearbook. We then moved to chapter 11, and I really thought I had fun with this one, and it was interesting because I told my kids about this, and while they're not millennials per se, they're the next generation, they actually could care less whether or not there was Apple Pay and different things available at Kohl's. But just to refresh your memory, in chapter 11, we're looking specifically at Kohl's and how they beat actually Best Buy and Macy's to the punch in creating a system that would integrate their Kohl's platform with Apple Pay in an attempt to get millennials. And I personally think that's really interesting, not necessarily with Macy's, but certainly with Best Buy. And so the question posed here is basically, what information do you need to know about your shopper and the targeted millennials to make this substantial investment worthwhile? And what type of scale would you use as well? So I can't imagine that Kohl's wouldn't have done anything to invest in such a product and to do this without doing the recommended things that I'm going to speak about. But of course, the first thing you want to do is you want to look at the Kohl's demographics. You want to look and see who's shopping at Kohl's. Are they males? Are they females? What is the socioeconomic status? Or more people shopping at Kohl's in urban centers versus rural areas? How old are the folks that are using, are actually going to Kohl's and shopping at Kohl's? I personally, when I go there, I see a lot of older people. So again, this was really fascinating to see. And of course, when you're looking at demographics, you want to use a nominal scale. I would also look at how often do millennials shop at Kohl's. I mentioned this already, but again, everybody has, a Kohl's, or many people have a Kohl's membership, and they can track the ages and the birth dates of folks to compare and see, okay, how many people are millennials versus people that are younger than millennials, people that are older than millennials, versus also looking at their competitors, looking at Best Buy, looking at Macy's, looking at Target. Another question, how much money do millennials spend when they are at Kohl's versus other folks in this process? And here I would use the interval scale. How many millennials, again, use the app now that it's been integrated versus how many people are not millennials. And then something else that's really interesting when you look at Kohl's is that they always have coupons. They have Kohl's Cash where you get $5 here, $5 there. How many people are actually handing in coupons versus using the app to use and implement those coupons? Because again, in order to use those coupons, it is tracked through a system that has certain information, your gender and age as well. So those would certainly be useful things to look at. And finally, for chapter 12, one situation here, and it's really interesting. It talks about performance drugs, and the example here explains how 20% of students in Ivy League colleges have used performance enhancing drugs to improve their academic performance. Moreover, there were further studies to identify that older people, senior employees at other companies were using performance enhancing drugs as well. And so despite the fact that there are headaches and anxiety and sleeplessness that are correlated with such performance drugs, the question is, can you, or how would you design a measurement instrument that would assess whether or not employees in your firm or in your university, more specifically, were using these smart drugs to enhance their ability to work harder, longer, and smarter? So again, the challenge is to design the measurement instrument to determine whether or not folks are using these smart drugs. So the measurement instrument, as defined and explained in chapter 12 of our text, does say that we need to do a few things. And of course, there's the human element here. And so we want to make every participant feel comfortable and know that the information that we obtain is confidential, especially since we're talking about smart drugs and performance enhancing drugs. So what you want to do is you want to encourage an individual to participate. You want to establish and maintain a rapport with the participant. You want to encourage a participant to provide actual accurate responses. So again, this is a really sensitive issue. And if everybody's saying, no, not using them, the validity of your questioning isn't really going to work. You also want to encourage a participant to provide an adequate amount of information. You want to, if possible, discourage a participant from refusing to answer specific questions. You want to discourage a participant from early discontinuation of participation. So maybe they get uncomfortable. You want to keep them there for the extent of the questioning. And you want to really leave the participant with a positive attitude about survey participation. And in this particular example, I think just really explaining what you're trying to get at. And just show them how their anonymous responses can just carry a lot of weight in trying to understand smart drugs at a university setting would be something of great importance. And if you could articulate that to the volunteers, you'd get really good data, hopefully. So that is a review of chapter 10, 11, and 12. Thank you very much, and I'll see you for week 6. Bye-bye.